I'm here to just add stories about the uh, IWRIM, Integrated Water Resource Management in Tanzania, and by that I'm exploring role of the Great Ruaha Catchment Water Committee in enhancing participatory water resources governance in Tanzania. So these are just some terms that I find to be important as we go along together, since I'm studying formal spaces that enable stakeholders participation. And yeah, I don't want to spend much time here, I think. So this is the issue. The Catchment Water Committee, the Great Rural Catchment Water Committee, is a part of the institutional framework that provide river basin organizations which are responsible to give spaces for various stakeholders in the formal water management in the catchment, in the Great Rural Catchment that is found in the southern part of Tanzania in the Rufiji Basin. And the Great Rural, I mean, the framework itself was introduced during 2000s as a result of acute water challenges in terms of conflicts among water users and degradation of water resources in the Ruaha catchment. And the Ruaha catchment has got various water demands, upstream cultivation, and in the middle section I've got the biggest national park in Tanzania, Ruaha National Park. And then we've got hydropower production in the lower section of the river. So the framework was purposely introduced, but by then when it was introduced, there were only Fiji Basin Water Board, as you can see, and then Water Use Association in the community levels. So some of the section in the middle that connecting the basin in the basin scale of the Rufiji and the community levels, Water Use Association were missing. And up to now, we don't have sub-catchment water committees, and the catchment water committees have been recently established, but with little contradiction from the literature. Some of the studies are saying that there are no committees, and others affirm that there are committees. So I was actually curious to find out, just to explore, do we have these committees, and if they are there, so what is the role they play in trying to contribute into the performance of the institutional water management framework towards enabling participatory water resource governance. The committee, actually, in the Water Resource Management Act of Tanzania, they provide spaces for two members from the Water Use Association, the community level, and one representative from local government authorities in the district level, one from major private water users, and yeah, so it provides almost 3 up to 5 members that are coming together to enable cross-sectoral coordination on how to manage water resources. And the main function is to manage water resources conflicts, protection of water resources, and others of the like, just to mention few. So actually I was trying to look at, to explore the role of the committee and the main objective in enhancing participatory governance for supporting water resources management, and to see so how does the committee actually enhance participation of stakeholders in management of conflicts, how it does the same towards conserving water resources, and also as part of the governance, because it is within the range of various stakeholders in the committee in the catchment. So I was trying to see what is the influence of the power and interest of these stakeholders towards the committee's decision making. Sorry, I didn't introduce the GRCWC, the abbreviation of the Great Ruaha Catchment Water Committee. Please bear with me. Sorry for that. So yeah, the Great Ruaha Catchment has got various smaller sub-catchments, but this one in the okay, here, I don't know, there. In the Mbarara sub-catchment, the smaller one, it is the closest smaller sub-catchment with many water conflicts compared to others, and it is in the closest position with the committee office. So I find it eligible to find some water users, for example, Water User Association. I choose one, and then major private water user from the Mbarara River, and other smaller water users who are doing just cultivation to sustain their lives, to just try to ask them to collect data about the role of the committee in the performance of enabling stakeholder participation, and some representative from the Refugee Basin Water Board and other stakeholders, non-government organizations. So I just used the exploratory research design and key format interviews and focus group discussion. And in the analysis, I did analysis using thematic analysis using in vivo software, and I tried to visualize my data, as you can see, through word cloud and theme comparison. You will see in the next slides. And most interesting in the power cube, that I find it useful to analyze the question of power by just putting the data into the cube and try to look at which levels the influence of power that are affecting the committee's decision making coming from. Is it global, national, or local? And what are the spaces that these stakeholders employ? Are they closely invited or claimed? By spaces, that means moments, channels that stakeholders use. They may be formal or informal. And also, what are the forms of power? Do we actually see them in terms of maybe documents or maybe hidden people making decisions behind the doors by not involving the committee itself, or invisible that they have accepted some of the stakeholders to dominate the water resources management decision? And I try to just visualize some references from my data. These are qualitative data, they're not quantitative, but I just put them into these charts so that I can show you what dominated my data. What are the references most dominated my data? So participants talked a lot about the influence of power to the committee decision making compared to other issues. Another new theme that I found out is the challenges. They were much of the time talking about challenges facing the committee, and they literally talk about the role of the committee, which raised some concern to me that the contribution of the committee is not that much other expected in improving the water resource management in the Ruaha catchment. And so I tried to first of all trace the process of the establishment of the committee itself, whether it was participatory. So it mainly depended from the representation of some, those who were responsible for the creating of the committee. They were just representative from various stakeholders. So there were invitations from the Refugee Basin Water Board to some of the representative, some of the organization who provided representative, and they met together. They vote, and then they formed the committee. So of course this has got some problem to those minorities or very small water users in the catchment, that they are still left behind at the tendency of the integrated water resource management by not actually addressing the issues of local voices in the catchments. And in terms of contributing to the water resource management, of course, the committee has got some good role to play. For example, it has added to the management, creation of more water user association in the community levels, and also trying to support women into leadership positions. For example, two of the water user associations, one called Pawaga Water User Association, the chairperson is a woman, and another one called Nzihi, also the secretary is a woman. So also by trying to manage water-related conflicts, the committee has been actually doing, employing rotational water allocation among the water users in the Marali River. So by just trying to make some timetable on how to use water from the river, trying to manage the contradiction and conflicts. And also doing some meetings to educate water user associations on how to preserve water resources, the river itself, by planting trees, doing seedling. Yeah, so these are some of the issues that I want to just touch. I don't want to go into details about this. This was the issue that dominated my data, the influence of power, and participants seem to talk a lot about these ones. The dimension that I talked before in the cube the forms of power, space of, these are just the descriptives of the references found in the data. So, and the another one, you see this diagram here. Sorry, that one there is, I try to look if participants relate the influence of power to the performance or the role of the committee. So that's the result. So many of them actually, when they talk about the role of the committee, they relate to the influence of power. That means there is a connection. And so in terms of the influence of power, the levels of power, so that one with 64 is just a total number of references. And then in the bluish color, the number of references that participants pointed out. What are the what level of what level power does come from influencing the committee's decision making? Most of them are in the local levels by the politicians, for example, mayors, local government authorities, and also national level, president, also sometimes president's office, ministry departments. They influence, they give commands that the committee should allow some people to abstract water, and so they become powerless. And you can see even in the forms of power in the word cloud, the government's officers and also the canals here it is. Major private water users actually own modern canals, so they abstract much water and they control the keys of their gates of their canals, and they have backup from the government officials. So this actually put the committee into a hard position on how to manage water resources. And the spaces of power, this is just the chart shows most of them are closed for the committee, and some courts actually shows this. One court from the Water Use Association, he was saying that the committee sometimes just find out some schemes, agricultural schemes have been already established without them to be involved. And when they try to trace, they come to find out government departments. So that's how we find out in the. So, but also I was also find out about the challenges. Many participants also stressed about this issue: insufficient human and material resources in terms of finance. So the committee actually has got no official, source of income. So they are just depending from the Refugee Basin Water Board for everything. 2 minutes. So it is hard for them to actually run their activities, trying to do meetings with the community water use associations, connecting various stakeholders. It becomes hard. The influence of power actually, as I've explained before, so let me just skip this one. So what I come to find out in relation to other works in the Great Ruaha Catchment, the committee, though it has added it had contributed to the performance of the framework in terms of providing spaces for stakeholder participation into managing water resources, still minimal. The contribution is minimal, and in terms of mechanism for participation, it has managed to create few water use associations, and the representation only 3 to 5 members, still very limited number of representatives, and given the big, the big size of the committee, and also number of meetings, still very few. And the influence of power is a major actually obstacle towards the committee's performance. Though sometimes they form coalition with the government departments by they're working together, managing water resources together, but still most of the time it is negative towards their performance. And so I was asking myself whether the establishment of the committee was the timing was right or not. So actually, it seems like these formal river basin organizations, such as the committee, are just established by, trying to satisfy the funders' needs, but they most of the time doesn't reflect the context of the water management. So just I'd like just to conclude by saying that the committee actually has added minimum improvement on the framework, as I've said before, and yeah. So anyway, what I come to find out important for me is that I need to do, I will recommend for more studies on the assessment actually, because these are formal spaces. So the assessment studies would be done, then more knowledge about the performance will be come out here, rather than using qualitative only as a source of data. Thank you.